Hello everybody, football is back and this is the Analysing Anfield podcast. I'm Kristian Walsh and with me as always is Josh Williams. We're speaking on Tuesday morning, about 48 hours, a little bit less, after Liverpool's first game of the season, the curtain raiser against Manchester City at Wembley Stadium. We all know the score, we all know what happened, we all saw it, I'm sure. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, Josh, how did you find the game? And ultimately, I suppose, one of the big questions is, were you bothered?
I found the game a bit weird, to be honest. It was very much, it was a bit like a friendly but crossover to a competitive game, I think. It was a weird watch. I think I'd have cared if we'd have won. But
everyone said that beforehand, didn't they?
I think I was the opposite to what Klopp said. I think Klopp said the opposite, didn't he? What did Klopp say in his press?
I think he says nobody cares if you win and everybody cares if you lose.
It was the other way around. If we'd have won, I'd have been, it's a trophy sound. But because we didn't, I just trying to immediately turned it off. I haven't seen him lift a trophy yet.
Neither did many Man City fans either, to be honest. They were all down the M25.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah. But no, it was a strange match, to be honest, but we'll get into it anyway.
Yeah, I suppose just starting in general, how much can you deduce from this sort of game? Is it a friendly? Is it not a friendly? Klopp was sort of positioning it as a friendly, but it didn't really feel like a friendly, especially in the second half. The intensity was off the charts. Yeah,
no, if I was to define it, I'd steer away from the friendly thing. Not because the team Klopp selected. I think people will look at the team Klopp selected and think he wants to win it, he's going for it. But I think it was more a case of immediately get the players you need for the season, get the minutes quickly for Norwich kind of thing. So I think that was the thinking there. But yeah, with the rivalry there as well, it's another trophy, the mental aspect of we've got one over you, that kind of thing. I do think it will have been one that both managers wanted to win, and I think judging by Pep as well over the course of the match on a touchline, he doesn't have moan. Do you know what I mean? He's really on his toes the whole match.
Nailed on to be the first manager to be booked.
Yeah.
As I say, he's a man who, despite the fact that it seems like he has absolutely everything in the world, an amazing world-class team, all the money he wants in the world to spend, apart from Harry Maguire apparently, he's always got the demeanour of a man whose milk's on the tin in the fridge. He's always sitting there and there's something wrong. So
no, I think what it is though, it stems from the fact he's a control freak. And Liverpool are one of the very, very few teams out there that do not allow him that control. We're not willing to give him it. So I think he doesn't like facing us. He's uncomfortable when he is facing us, even with a lead. And he just doesn't enjoy facing us. It's as simple as that, really. As a result, he starts acting up in ways that, you don't usually see. I do like Pep, but he does, as I said, a bit of a control freak, wants it all his own way, and it can't always be like that in football, so you've got to be able to deal with that.
I think I described the Community Shield as a bit like Coke Zero or, fat free cheese or a Tarantino movie where all the goals are edited out. It is sort of a proper game of football, but it can at times be a bit of a pale imitation. So we will move on to the nitty-gritty, to the analytics behind the game. First of all, Josh, how did Liverpool play? I thought it was a game of two halves. I thought first half they were awful, and at half time I was vocal. I was lucky enough to be in the press room for the game. I was very vocal in the press room at half time, worried that Liverpool were on the decline. It just shows you how football can make a mug of you, because 45 minutes later I thought Liverpool were absolutely primed to go toe to toe with Manchester City again this season. So how did you think they played overall, the good and the bad?
Yeah, I think the first half we definitely looked off it. We definitely looked not in a different league, but just the tempo. One of the things we're very good at over the past year or so, reason we did so well in the Champions League, is because we're just so fast. Every aspect of our game, the high tempo, people just can't deal with us, fitness and things like that. But we haven't had that because of the lack of pre-season, players coming back, City having more players from the start. So we didn't really have that tempo to match them. I think it really offered an insight as well into how much defending plays on styles of play that Klopp and Pep like to impose. They're obviously both very proactive managers, very assertive in the way that they play. And I think people overlook sometimes how much defending plays a part in that. I think City in the first half were just the better defenders in terms of proactive defending on the front foot, getting tight, immediately regaining the ball and that sort of thing. And I think in the second half, it was just a case of Liverpool were better with that. Liverpool were hungry without the ball, more in your face. And it's a bit of an age-old saying, but it does set the tone for the course of the match. And I think, Graham Souness, pundits like that, get slated a little bit on Sky when they say, like, tactics don't matter, it's about who's first to the ball. He sounds a bit like a dinosaur saying that, but there's an element of truth in it. It is about who applies the game plan more aggressively in matches like that.
Souness doesn't mean it like that. He just wants them to win the ball, but he's right in what he says, yeah.
Galatasaray flagging him into the pitch. But as I said, there's an element of truth in that you have just got to be hungrier without the ball, and you've got to be more in your face, more assertive. And I think, as I said, the game of two halves thing, that's what it stemmed from for me. It was which team was defending better rather than which team was specifically behaving better with possession. I think it just stemmed all from which team proactively regained the ball quicker and hungrier and as a team, as a unit, and allowed fewer spaces to open up and things like that.
Van Dijk showed that, didn't he? I suppose first half he looked more, or second half he was back to his best. So I suppose we'll just sort of go.
Way of pointing out, he got dribbled past.
He did,
supposedly.
Well,
I did see it, and it registered in my head immediately when it happened.
I missed it. I completely missed it. When was it?
Immediately. It was about 70 odd minutes. Gabriel Jesus, centre of the pitch, around the kick-off spot, and the ball looks as though it's loose. Looks like Van Dijk's going towards it, and Jesus puts his foot on the ball and drags it inwards towards his body, and then in an opposite direction before Van Dijk can get a touch on the ball. But he doesn't get past him. He just gets away from him and then lays it off to his teammate. So I did think at the time, was that a dribble past? It was a weird thing. So it's a good job I got that piece in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, if you want to read that, that's on LFC Stories. It's about the art of making yourself dribble resistance. I believe is how you put it, Josh.
New little concept, yeah.
Yeah, but also David Maddock of the Mirror, great fella, and he's sort of he's pointed out that the Community Shield isn't actually a competitive game.
Yeah, well, that's another thing worth noting, yeah.
So we can carry it on. We can carry it on.
And the piece that I done was all the stats in that were based on Premier League anyway.
Yeah.
So,
we can still carry it on.
If we don't want to count it, let's not count it.
But the other thing as well is that, is it the worst thing if let's say on the opening day of the season, Max Aarons, for whatever reason, I suppose he's a right back, he wouldn't necessarily do, but let's say Pookie dribbles past him, because maybe he'll get stopped asking about it in press conferences, and maybe we can just sort of, Opta won't have the same tweet coming out every single time and all these, banter accounts. Let's just get it out the way. Let's just say he's been dribbled past, and let's just crack on with him just being the world's best defender in every aspect possible.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it doesn't necessarily reflect. It's crazy that people are saying, oh, Van Dijk isn't getting dribbled past, he's an elite defender. That's not what makes him an elite defender.
No.
As you explained in the piece, two of the highest or two of the lowest dribble past defenders are
Wes Morgan,
yeah,
Harry Maguire.
Well, there we go.
Lascelles was in there, Chris Smalling was in there. So I think Van Dijk's the best of that type of defender. The best of that, like, I think like a cover type defender where you allow the opposing player to sell himself before you sell yourself, and because you're so big, you can act as an obstacle, block off a serious amount of the field, force the player onto his weak foot and stuff like that. Van Dijk's the best at that, the most composed, extremely heavy as well, big obstacle, fast. So he's extremely difficult to dribble past. And Jesus, although he did dribble, but he didn't get past him. I don't know. It was a weird one. It was a strange one, but
it wouldn't register on your snickometer anyway.
Yeah, maybe not.
So I suppose we'll split this into two bits, and the way I've split it up in the pre-show agenda is the two. So we won't go chronologically. We'll talk about more Liverpool and then a little bit of City. So Mo Salah. I thought he was the man of the match. I couldn't believe it was given to Kevin De Bruyne in the ground. I couldn't believe
disgrace.
it. But 10 shots. I thought he was incredible otherwise. I thought he looked unplayable. And okay, he's up against Zinchenko, who isn't necessarily City's first choice left back, but he might be City's first choice left back because Mendy's an absolute pain in the backside. Yeah. And also Guardiola clearly just can't be bothered with him. And then they brought back Angelino, of course. It wouldn't surprise me if we see him at some point, shoring up that left-hand side spot, given what you've said about him. But he looked unplayable. I thought he looked a lot like his 17-18. The only thing that was missing was his finishing touch. So this bodes well for the season. That he came back from the World Cup and he clearly had the Champions League final, both physically and mentally, wearing him down. He had the World Cup wearing him down a little bit, and he didn't quite look like himself. He's come back. He looks fitter. He looks stronger. He looks tactically sharper as well. He was picking up all the right positions for me.
Yeah, I thought he was superb. I wrote a piece on it yesterday, just to ensure that no kind of narrative goes towards the way of, Salah cost Liverpool a game because he missed so many shots or something like this, because it was just nonsense. He should be absolutely praised for being such a threat during the match. Liverpool, according to Wisecout, had 17 shots. Salah was directly involved with 11 of them. 10 shots himself, and he sets up one for Shaqiri. I think there might even be more. I'm not even too sure, but that's 64.7% of Liverpool's shots that he was directly involved with. And considering the amount of minutes he's played over the course of the past year, that is one worry regarding not getting a backup to the front three. It's not necessarily that the front three get injured. It's that playing so often affects your quality on the pitch. But Salah didn't look like he was suffering from that anytime soon. At least he looked extremely sharp. 10 shots is ridiculous. The most he took throughout the whole of last season was against Bournemouth. That was 8 shots.
Is that home or away?
That was at home. That was at Anfield, yeah.
Got a hat-trick away as well.
He did, yeah. I might have missed it, I'm not sure. When you're scrolling down, the amount of shots,
of course,
just tons. But yeah, I just thought he was ridiculous. I think that generally in football analytics and stuff like that, the more shots you take, the more goals you tend to score. So, and it's not an easy thing to manipulate and manoeuvre situations so that you can get a shot away. So I just think if people are going to dig him out, maybe Salah should have scored. He should be credited for being able to get into those positions and take those shots. And, in the piece, just for a little example, Divock Origi took 1 shot over the course of the match. Jesus, 0. Sterling, 3. So for Salah to take 10...
Against elite opposition as well.
Against elite opposition, yeah, and that's worth noting. City allow about 5.3 shots on their goal during the course of 90 minutes over the course of last season. I'll expand on that a little bit when we go into the next point. I think there was a point where you said, when did City last post numbers like that? Yeah, we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
But I just think Salah's performance was incredible. He's going to be my FPL captain on the first day of the season.
Triple him.
Yeah. Because as I said, he just looks extremely hungry, and he was the ultimate threat, definition of a threat. Possibly put a bit of doubt in Pep's mind over Zinchenko, you know what I mean? So, very, very top attacker, definition of a top attacker.
He reminded me a little bit, and this might sound like a negative, it's not. He reminded me a little bit of Arjen Robben on Sunday, in terms of he get the ball in the same position and you kind of knew what he was going to do, but they just couldn't stop him.
Yeah, you couldn't stop him, yeah.
And all he needed to do was find that one Robben shot into the top corner. I mean, I
thought his shooting was decent anyway. He was fine from the corners. It's not like...
He hit the post, yeah.
He hit the post, yeah.
Again, small margins.
Yeah, I get frustrated when players maybe hit all their shots down the middle and the keeper collects them easily, but Salah was... I'd rather a player miss whilst aiming for the corners than get it on target but it's feeble and right down the middle. And Salah mixed up his shots well, I thought. He hit the post. He was unpredictable.
Near post, far post.
Yeah, just a very high quality performance, and one that he would usually score, I think. I mean, if he's to keep up even half that output, 5 shots a match over the course of the season, which won't happen, it'll be lower than that. But he's going to score all kinds if he's posting anywhere near numbers like that. It's just a bit of an anomaly that he had 10 shots and not actually scored for many of them.
the only criticism I'd say is his headers probably should have been a little bit stronger. That's the one thing he's got to work on, because he should have gone straight in. But what a clearance!
Just unfortunate that Kyle Walker's so quick.
What a clearance. Okay, so we'll move to the midfield. Again, it was almost like a game of two halves with them, especially with Henderson. But the subs were the things that changed this mainly, especially Naby Keita. So they weren't great in the first half. In fact, I thought they were really, really poor, to be honest. But does that midfield of, and I know we've redefined Henderson now as a more of an attacking midfielder, more of a number 8, but he's still not necessarily what you'd say is a Keita or an Oxlade-Chamberlain in his ways. But he's certainly closer to it than, let's say, a Wijnaldum or a Fabinho. But let's say that Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum trio, does that only really work if the fullbacks are in full form and with the full front three?
Yeah, I'd say that's a good midfield if you're playing Norwich, for example. It offers really good central coverage, central protection, and it would allow Robertson and Trent to both bomb on down the sides. But against City, because of the play, I mean, Leroy Sané was all over Trent at the start. Trent couldn't get forward. So you can't get forward when you're dealing with a player like that. And that's why last season I wrote, must have been at least 3 pieces, just different words each time, different ways of wording it each time. On when that's the problem, you have to have a penetrative midfield threat like an Ox, possibly a Keita. Someone like that. That's why I thought maybe would be linked with a player like that. I suggested someone like Julian Brandt, maybe, didn't I, at the start of the summer?
Well, they were interested.
Bruno Fernandes has been linked to players like this who can just operate as that fourth attacker if the fullbacks can't get forward.
It's a number 8, but they're playing almost as a number 10, or maybe it's a number 10 who's dropping deep as a number 8.
Yeah, it's an 8.5, really, isn't it? I mean,
to use the old Brendan phrase, his hours and courses.
Yeah. But Ox is very good at doing it because he's had natural time spent over seasons as a winger, as a wide player. So he's got that natural tendency, the mobility as well, the power to support the front line whilst also being able to have enough about him to actually get back into the midfield if the ball's lost. So I did find that a little bit strange because I do like Henderson as an 8, but he's not much of an attacking 8. He's a highly mobile, aggressive 8 where he's just causing a bit of chaos around him because of his pressing tendencies. But he's got 0 threat about him. I even saw training drills a couple of weeks ago on just the Liverpool account, I think, just posting training drills, and even his finishing is just very basic. Like, he's just not a threat. He's going to be creative in a more chaotic sense just by disrupting.
Couple of bobbled bounces and off the shins and loose balls to Salah, that kind of thing. Yeah,
and even that, I don't think he was particularly great at doing. He had a go, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was Henderson's best match. Even his first touch, his control was a bit off, especially in that first half. So, yeah, I think the midfield changes in the second half are really welcomed, and it's something to definitely consider when we're playing these big matches against high quality opponents, but particularly high quality opponents that have got good wide players. Just consider throwing a bit more of a midfield threat in there and instructing, maybe just say to Trent, have a bit more of a cautious game where you're a bit deeper today. Just give yourself that bit more protection. Oxlade support Salah, something like that.
It is an option there then, and this is what happened in the second half. You go Gomez right back.
Yeah, it is. That was why last week during the summer I mentioned Wan-Bissaka, because that would be an option that you'd get from the squad if you've got such an attacking left winger, for example, on the opposing team. Throw Wan-Bissaka in there, give him purely defensive duties pretty much, and let Ox do the supporting to Salah, let Ox do a bit of the wide roaming. But Gomez does that well. I mean, people had a problem when we played Barcelona away at the new camp, and Gomez played right back. I had 0 issue with it at all. Trent, as good as he is, incredibly high ceiling, he is not the best defensively, let's be honest. And Trent would have been up against Phil Coutinho that day, who's incredibly technically good. So I think it makes sense. It's a nice option to have there. I think Gomez sound at right back. I think he. Don't get me wrong. I do prefer him as a centre back. But if he plays right back, people seem to have a bit of an issue with it. But as long as it's in the right matches, when we don't need Trent as an offensive force as much, I've got no issue with Gomez playing right back.
That's it. You go with Gomez, say in the new camp.
Yeah.
And
City
but
at Wembley. You know what I mean?
That's okay. What you need is you can't have the midfield of Henderson, Wijnaldum and Milner, for example.
No, if you have Gomez as your right back, you then want, as I said, Ox as your right midfielder, or Naby somewhere in there.
Although he naturally drifts out left, doesn't he? His inclination is to go left. But I suppose that also shows you why Liverpool were interested in, let's say, a Lloyd Kelly over the summer, because I think he will be in the Gomez mould.
Yeah, defensive mould, yeah.
So if you ever need to give Robertson the week off, or you want to play somebody a little less attack-minded, you can put maybe Kelly in there, and then you put Naby Keita as one of the eights.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting squad option to look towards. We obviously don't seem to be doing it that much. Just by having two first-choice fullbacks who are very offensive, and maybe having the backup one that's just very defensive, I just think it's a nice option to have. We've got it kind of with Gomez on the right, but on the left, the backup at the minute looks like it's Larouci, doesn't it? And he's just
a winger.
Just as offensive minded as Robertson is.
Yep. The changes, in midfield as well. Probably, this is the thing. I feel like when people slam the midfield, or they blast the midfield, I feel like you've got to remember what was in reserve. And I think more than any other position on the pitch, it's almost a jigsaw, and it's how different options work with each other. So, as you've mentioned there, in terms of it's about the balance, not just with the three midfielders, but how the fullbacks operate as well. When Keita comes on, and lastly Ox and Lallana, it looks completely different. It changes, and it doesn't necessarily coincide with Liverpool going into the ascendancy in the game, but I certainly think Keita coming on, Liverpool is so strong in that last 20 minutes, and you see the Keita that maybe Liverpool was starting to, certainly what the Keita they were expecting at the start of last season, certainly the Keita that was starting to show a little bit before he got injured at the end of last season. He's getting onto, he's tracking back, he's winning challenges, he's going forward, he's not getting picked up and having shots undetected on the edge of the box. Good save by Bravo there. So Liverpool do have options in the midfield. There's no doubt about that. Is this the year of the Ox? To give it a headline. But is it the year of the Ox? Is it the year of Keita? Is it the year of Lallana? Is this where these kind of guys? I know everybody's been saying, "Oh, Lallana, new signing," but can those three completely help transform? Not all together, but as part of.
No, I agree. Yeah,
a midfield.
Definitely, yeah. This is what I think. I've been asked by the Echo a couple of times now to write. How I think Liverpool will develop on the pitch this season, what the next developments is. Because last season the development seemed to be basically learn how to control matches, learn how to sit on leads and stuff like that. And obviously we ended up developing by having a cautious midfield with very offensive fullbacks. I think this season, with Naby hopefully coming on a bit more, and Ox now being fit, I've said a couple of times that I think that the next stage of our development is when we need to, we can mix it up by going very attacking in the midfield, having a very attacking midfield, hopefully instructing the fullbacks to be a bit more defensive. And I think in the match against City, I think one thing that mixed it up is both Keita and Lallana can pass forwards. It sounds crazy, but Wijnaldum, anyone that's followed us for a while will know that he is not the most progressive midfielder. He can get out of tricky situations, but he's really not inclined to pass forwards, through balls, that kind of player. Keita's the polar opposite in that regard. Keita will try things going forward. Lallana, although he's completely toothless in most aspects, especially in terms of decisive final third output, he is an incisive, cute passer. He's technically good little link player to have. So I think Keita and Lallana and Ox offer a similar degree of press resistance to Wijnaldum, for example, but they offer that forward intent as well, that Trent and Robertson usually have to provide. So I think it's definitely something to watch over the course of the season, and I think it'll definitely help us, particularly. We seem to struggle away last season in big matches. I'm thinking
they didn't win one.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking Napoli, United, Everton, City, Arsenal.
Oh, they won Tottenham. Sorry, they beat Tottenham.
Chelsea, we beat Tottenham, yeah. But they were all matches whereby the fullbacks can't get us forward as much. So you're reliant on the midfield to get up and support. We now have Ox. We hopefully will have Keita a bit more involved this season. So I think that's definitely something to watch in terms of development this season. Just how we are now a bit more able to tackle that problem of, okay, your fullbacks can't get forward. How are you going to solve that?
Interesting to note those type of games as well. So PSG, James Milner penalty. Manchester United, no goals. Everton, no goals. Chelsea, what's the XG on Sturridge's shot? It's 0.0001.
I think as well too, Salah really underperformed in those. When I say underperformed, I mean just played badly really in those matches. But I don't think it mainly stemmed from him. I think a lot of it stemmed from just a complete lack of support, operating in an isolated way, and it's he's getting doubled up on and things like that. So if he's getting supported, you're giving opposing teams a different problem there, and you're giving them more of an issue, because Salah's not the only man you're dealing with. You're dealing with Ox running beyond them, Trent maybe running beyond them, Keita finding them with through balls rather than him having to just come deep and things like that. So it's a different dynamic to watch this season, particularly big matches, I think.
So just move quickly on to City. Just wanted to very, very quickly bring up Rodri. I think I slept on him as a signing, to be honest. I think I maybe read a couple of tweets that were saying, he's nowhere near as good as Busquets and Fernandinho, and he's not a Guardiola midfielder, but he's good. He's good, he's big, he's physical, he looks durable. I'm not sure what his injury record was at Atletico, but it feels to me as if City would not sign a player if it was poor.
Yeah, I feel like it's good, yeah.
So there's City there, and this all folds into basically improvement for City. So Liverpool got 97 points last season, Manchester City got 98. Liverpool, let's face it, if they want to win the Premier League, for example, they have to finish above Manchester City. They have to accrue more points than Manchester City in 38 games. I feel like if Liverpool want to win the Champions League again, one of their only real obstacles is Manchester City in a two-legged game. Or a final, of course, but over two legs. I've probably be more confident over two legs than a final, funnily enough. But that's by the by. But the problem is, you can talk about Liverpool and what they've done this summer and how they're going to improve, but it looks like City are improving. So they signed Rodri, record fee, and then it's about marginal gains. And Man City score from a set piece, and Man City do not normally score from set pieces. It was the one weakness in their game. And already they look very dangerous. And I know that you have got, it's not even a theory, but you've basically got the scoop on this, on why City have already started looking good on set pieces.
Yeah, this is an important point to make. And I'm going to provide a public service across the course of the season, making every team I can aware of the set pieces City are doing. Because I'm pretty sure that they'll have picked up on Liverpool last year. We scored 29 last season to City's 15 from set pieces. That's a serious difference considering the two teams are often competing at the elite level, really. 16% of City's goals came from set pieces last season. Lowest percentage in the Premier League. And over the course of the summer, they recruited at least one set piece performance analyst. So everything just pointing towards, we're going to start making use of set pieces. We're not going to take them short anymore, which is what Guardiola's teams have done historically. Everywhere he's been, just take short corners, keep the ball. Mainly because he's had small players, really, but also because he's had maybe a bit of a lack of interest of exploiting those modern set piece routines that you can really gain an edge. And if you're in a big, high profile match between two teams that are hard to separate. If what separates you is a set piece routine, it's absolutely worth the time behind the scenes. So City's opening goal, set piece, and it was very clearly a premeditated routine. You got two players standing over the ball, Silva and De Bruyne. That's not uncommon. But they played it short to Zinchenko in the centre of the pitch. He played it further away to Kyle Walker. By the time Kyle Walker receives the ball, De Bruyne and Silva are both on the bike towards the back post. But bear in mind, the Liverpool defence is hovering towards Walker in the opposite direction. So Walker just plays a diagonal pass towards the back post. De Bruyne heads it down. Silva knocks it on. Sterling finishes. Very clever little moves that would have been premeditated before the match, pre-planned. And as I said, they can make a big difference. Huge difference in very tight knockout fixtures in Champions League, for example, which they can't seem to get past a certain phase. So it's definitely something to watch this season, and it's a bit of a concern because it's a way in which we bridged the gap last year. We definitely identified set pieces as an edge that teams basically weren't taking note of. I mean,
hired the throwing coach.
Yeah, we hired a throwing coach. Yeah, it's just a really underutilized tool. I'm just thinking of little things that maybe people wouldn't pick up on, like against Spurs at Wembley last season. We just put Van Dijk right on. I think it might have even been Vorm.
It was Vorm,
yeah. I'm not sure on the height of Vorm, but I know Van Dijk's taller. And just that is a premeditated move because it's causing a problem. It's giving the opposing team a problem to solve. A little bit of disorganisation there, and we ended up scoring from it. Wijnaldum scored. It was headed off the line, but it was given as a goal. We also did it away to Newcastle. Van Dijk again, but this time Van Dijk scored. That was another little premeditated move where Mane and maybe one other player took, I think, 3 Newcastle defenders away, including Lascelles. Van Dijk completely on his own. Van Dijk finished. So if this is something that City are going to now look on, to build on and to start working on, putting effort towards behind the scenes, it's definitely worrying, to say the least.
And as we say, marginal gains. We talk about, 12 millimetres at the Etihad, and
yeah.
I mean, you look at the off the line and the one that hit the bar and came out from Van Dijk, and obviously penalties, small margins, and City seem to be winning them at the moment. So let's hope that Manchester City don't. Despite all of those, little marginal gains that they enjoyed, I think they were bastard in the second half. I think there's no other way of putting it. I just wanted to pose to you. So 17 shots, 9 on target. Liverpool posted an XG of 1.89. When is the last time anyone posted numbers against City? And is this A, good news for Liverpool? B, good news for Liverpool in the sense that City are fallible? Or C, a little bit of both?
I think it's probably more a case of good news for Liverpool rather than City now being on the decline. I don't think the XG is particularly, amazing. It's more a case of the 17 shots. I've got a bit of a banter stat on this because I tried to find the last time that happened. City allowing 17 shots on their goal. You're
going to tell me like Stuart Pearce was the manager or something here? Dick Hoff was up front.
I'm going to say now, do you want to have a guess? But you probably won't guess it.
Give me an idea of the year.
Well, I think if you was to ask me this question, what I'd guess would be it would be Liverpool.
The 4-3.
4-3. That day we had 16 shots. So one off the 17 we had in the Community Shield. There was also a match in the Champions League against Monaco.
The 5-3 was that?
The Etihad one, was it?
Yes.
5-3, yeah. They conceded 15 that day.
At the Etihad?
They allowed 15, yeah. But there was one more.
Last season or?
It might have, I can't even remember. It might have even been without Pep. I'm not sure. 2016.
Was
2016, by the way. I'll say that again.
2016.
3 years. 3 years away.
Was it the Chelsea 3-1?
It was Chelsea.
When they won at the Etihad and Aguero got sent off?
I don't know.
No?
It was Stamford Bridge, Chelsea 5-1 in an FA Cup match. I don't particularly remember it very well.
I don't remember that game.
You don't? Diego Costa scored the opener. I know that. So
Man City lost 5-1.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
2016, yeah.
I need to find this.
Man, if Diego Costa scored the opener, was Pep there for that? Pep was there for a year with Diego Costa still in the league. I know that because Diego Costa fell out with Conte eventually, didn't he?
It was Pellegrini.
Was it Pellegrini? Yeah.
It's Pellegrini. Well, the headline on the BBC, the first paragraph says Chelsea swept aside a below-strength Manchester City team containing 5 teenage full debutants.
Yeah,
so there we go.
Yeah, well, it was definitely a rotated side. Definitely.
I'm going to have a look at the team.
But a 5-1, I seriously...
My word, no, we can't have that as a stat. My word. The back five were Caballero, Zabaleta, I can't say his name, it's the Adarabio.
Yeah.
The young lad who's gone to, I think he's in the Championship at the moment, Demichelis and Kolarov.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's a shambles, that, isn't it?
Oh, there's some players have Garcia Alonso, don't know who he is, Fernando, not Fernandinho, Besanchelina, Iheanacho and Faupala.
Yeah, that's a shambles, that.
That doesn't count.
So we can, unless I've missed one on the course of scrolling right the way down the screen, that's the first time City have allowed 17 shots on the goal under Pep. And the last time it happened was a game that, again, I just barely even remember, 5-1 against Chelsea, Pellegrini.
You probably don't remember because the lad who scored for City is now unattached. He hasn't got a club. He last played for Apollon Limassol. David Faupala.
Well, that's the banter talk of the week. That I think that was crazy. But yeah, I think
that's how we bring in the masses. That's how we go big.
Yeah, I think it offers an insight, though, doesn't it?
It's amazing
into Liverpool's relentless attacking. I'm not sure how many shots we had in the last 3 to 5 minutes. It felt like we had a fair few to win the game at the end, but we didn't slot. But yeah, make no mistake, City allowing 17 shots on their goal, even if it was a friendly, unheard of. And another thing as well, another little banter stat. This was a mad one. We won the possession in the match. So when was the last time you think City lost the possession under Guardiola? Ooh. You will not get this. This is mad. I don't know what happened.
So it's not like the Everton 4, City 0.
No.
Because that was real counter-attacking.
Nobody will listen to this will know. Nobody. I'd be surprised anyway.
Go on.
It was a week earlier against a team called Yokohama FM in a friendly. De Bruyne scored.
It's like a radio team, like a radio station's 11.
I've got no idea. I don't know where it was. Yeah, hang on. It was in Yokohama. So De Bruyne scored, Sterling scored. So I'm assuming it was a decent team. I got up the team now. Bernardo Silva, Leroy Sané, Rodri. I don't know what happened, but Yokohama had 58% possession over City's 42. So at City won 3-1, but I don't know what happened there.
Could just be Guardiola trying his counter-attacking game, couldn't it? Just let them have the ball and let's see what happens.
Yeah, maybe so. But when I thought I'd be in for a longer look than a week, that was a mad one. Yeah.
So we'll move on now to Liverpool versus Norwich, Real Park, Man City. As I said, I don't feel like it's the sort of game where we ended up reading a lot more into it than we probably expected, because it was actually quite a good game, an intense game, but you get to penalties and I don't think it really matters at that point. I thought most of the penalties from Liverpool were good. So Liverpool don't have the Community Shield. They do have the Premier League, however, and it starts again on Friday night. Josh, newly promoted Norwich, does the fact that this is the opening game play any sort of part in mentality or putting on a show or making a statement, or is it going to be Jurgen Klopp will have them focused from the off to just play their regular game?
I think it plays a part in terms of you almost don't know what you're up against. There's not much there to analyse in terms of previous games. We only know Norwich from pre-season and when they're going to dominate a completely different league. So we ultimately have no idea how they're going to adapt to Premier League football, if they're going to change tactically, whatever it may be. So it makes a difference in that regard. But I think from a Liverpool perspective, it's very much about just, it's at Anfield, the opening game against a newly promoted team. I think it's reasonable to suggest that if you play your own game to a certain degree, you're going to win, really. I don't think there's that much to worry about, providing, we're 90% at least, and we seem to be, certainly over the course of the past year, when it comes to Premier League football, we seem to be really focused, really on it. I don't think we've had any bad defensive game really over the course of the past year. Even the matches we drew, the one that we lost against City, we don't seem to have got away with much defensively. We seem to just be extremely defensively good. We've obviously got at least 2 of our 3 usual attackers. Keita maybe will even start just because we might want to compensate for that, the lack of Mane. But I don't think there's that much to worry about. The only thing I'd say is, as I said, you maybe know a bit less about them, so the analysis maybe comes into it a little bit less because you ultimately don't know what to expect.
So I suppose if they don't know much about Norwich, I don't know how much you do, Josh, but Fark, let's have a look a little bit at what they've done over the summer. It's important to say that, they won the championship. They were the best team in the championship, I think.
Statistically, Leeds were the best, but Norwich were, very good nonetheless. Yeah. I wouldn't say they didn't deserve to come up or something like that. They were very good, I thought.
Leeds just aren't allowed to get promoted. It's just the
Leeds
rule.
Just,
just Leeds, isn't it? Yeah.
No, Leeds just done the standard analytics thing whereby you take plenty of shots yourself and you restrict the opposing team to taking very few. And just for whatever reason, they just fell off it at the end. Sadly, I would have liked to have seen them come up, to be honest, but
I think they go up with 100 points this year, personally.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
But back to Norwich and Fark, he's kept faith in his guys, which is, let's say, the anti-Villa and the anti-Fulham approach to the transfer market. But it's interesting, he's put a couple of lads from the Bundesliga for not much money, to be honest. That Josip Dermich, I remember breaking through more than a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
He was rated quite highly. He's a striker. He was released by Gladbach. And Ralph Farman, who, looking at pre-season, seems to maybe have the nod over Tim Krul. He's a goalkeeper from Schalke. I think he might have even been in the Germany squad a couple of times. They've also bought Sam Byram, which seems a little bit strange to me. He's a young right back from West Ham.
Is he still young? It's worth checking that.
He's probably about 26. Everyone's young to me. I'm 30. I'm 32.
He looks young, I know that. But
he came from Leeds last year because Everton were interested in him. 25. That's still young. 30's young to me. And that's a bit of a strange one because they have Max Aarons, who's getting linked to all and sundry. Maybe that's just the case of they know Max Aarons isn't going to be around much longer. Tottenham still need a right back in the next 48 hours. It wouldn't surprise me if they go for somebody like him. So what do we know about Norwich, Josh? The new guys, the old guys, the style of play. What can we expect from the Canaries?
I actually really like Norwich. I think they're a very smartly run club. They've got a director of football at the minute.
Stuart Webber.
Yeah. Really, really, really good. Knows exactly what he's doing. He's got a similar outlook on squad building to what we've preached on this pod. Just very smart recruitment. And I think when he got promoted, he basically had the option to either do a Fulham or use the promotion funds to tie down your big stars on long deals so that you're going to make long-term profits on those, and bring in a few bargains here and there, really. And I think Schalke, I've got a really promising up-and-coming keeper. David Wagner's obviously there now. And I think they very quickly were onto that. Daniel Falcao obviously having Bundesliga connections. I think they very quickly got onto the fact that Farman might be available. So they got a loan. That's a clever deal for me. Dermich, I think he's had some injury issues, but on a free transfer, again, makes sense. Patrick Roberts from City.
Didn't put Roberts down, but he's an interesting one as well, isn't he?
Well, again, he's, virtually financial costs, there's virtually nothing there because he's on a loan. Sam Bynum, I don't think he's going to start by any means, but I think he's just another means of getting cover for very little funds. But I think if you look at Norwich's squad, I think it's very sensible to tie down what you've got there, because he's got, I think, three of the four defenders that play for Norwich in the first team are going to fetch really big sums, I think, in the next couple of seasons. You've got Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis and Ben Godfrey. I think the oldest out of them three is 21. But they all start regularly. They're all really upcoming, progressive English talents. The kind that go for 50 odd million, usually. I don't think they'll go this summer. But, whether Norwich go up or go down at the end of the season, I'd fancy at least... It wouldn't surprise me at all if at least two of them got snapped up next summer after getting exposure in the Premier League. So yeah, Stuart Webber's, really, really strong director of football, knows what he's doing, worked his way up from the bottom, and he's in charge of the whole transfer thing, and he's the reason that they haven't signed a great deal of players, but he's thinking long term, which is the right way to go about it for me. So yeah, they're a very smartly run club, but whether they've got enough for Liverpool, I'm not too sure. They're very much a 4-2-3-1 team under Falke. But again, against Liverpool away at Anfield, remains to be seen whether he'll use that. I think they played at Atalanta in pre-season.
Yeah, they lost 4-1.
They lost 4-1, and I think they switched the formation for that. I think they played... So that's
4-1-4-1, I think?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. I think that's a bad sign. Because maybe that's what he'll have maybe...
You have one way of playing, and if he tries to change it up anyway, he's in trouble.
Yeah, and that's why I think looking ahead to the season, I think Norwich and Villa, although they look offensive-minded and Villa have bought a ton of players and stuff like that, I think Sheffield United have got the least to do in terms of changing your style. Norwich and Villa are used to dominating matches. Norwich had something like 58% possession last season, I think. They scored, their expected goals was good. They well overperformed their already good expected goals numbers. They allowed a fair amount of shots on their goal, but the shots that they allowed weren't clear cut. They were fairly low quality, but when you're coming up against Liverpool, that's not a good sign, because Liverpool are probably going to make them a bit more clear cut. And if you're going to allow plenty as it is, you're going down the route of a Bournemouth fixture there, where we tend to just slaughter them. So it remains to be seen. I like the way they run. I like what they're doing. But they couldn't have wished for a worse opening fixture there. I don't think they'll be expecting to get anything from it by any means. And if they're going to keep their principles intact and play the same way, it could be a cricket score. But that's no real knock on Norwich, because I like what they're doing. It's just not a good opening fixture for them, I'd say.
Just having a little look here. Pukki, who's their Finnish striker, he was second in the Championship last season in terms of expected goals and assists combined. But then you've got Hernandez and Buenadia, 25th and 26th were the next in for Norwich. Don't get me wrong, they were both posting around 15 goals/assists a season. I think that just maybe shows as well that there's still that little bit of a gap. Pukki is the main man.
I think Buendia is definitely worth watching.
He's one of my little fantasy football tips.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's
not at the moment because he won't get a touch against Liverpool probably, but going forward.
No, he's interesting talent.
You mentioned him.
Yeah, he's only about like 5'6", I think. He's very small.
Was he linked with Leeds?
Probably.
Yeah, Leeds was linked with everyone.
Yeah, but he's that type of player though. He's very technical, very cute, intricate player, and he showed up well for Webber on, kind of a Pascal Gross metric, whereby he's posted very good creative numbers for a bad team abroad.
Getafe.
Yeah. I think he was on loan as well to somewhere even more obscure. It's worth checking that, because he was on loan.
Cultural Leonessa.
Yeah, there you go.
I watch them often.
Is that Spain still?
It's still Spain.
Yeah.
He's Argentinian, but this is Spain, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like League One level.
Yeah, but he's a really, really creative technical player. If you look at his expected assists per 90, he posted a figure that was, if it was in the Premier League, only 6 players last season with over 1,500 minutes posted better and posted a more creative figure per 90. He might have got a bit of a boost there from set pieces. I think he takes set pieces for them, but nevertheless, I think it's going to be a case of if you keep him quiet, you'll do a lot to stopping Norwich's attack. But him being in a more technical league now with cleaner pitches and stuff like that, it'll be interesting to see how he does, because he's only 22. I'm not necessarily. I don't think he'll ever be a Liverpool type player because he hasn't got the physicality about him. Same in regard to Spurs. I don't think he's quite at the technical level of City, but he's the type to develop, a bit of a following if he starts performing. Because as I said, he's a very bit like in the mould of like a gross Delafeo type talent who can post high creative numbers at a fairly average team. So he's worth looking at for the match. I think he's worth taking care of. He usually plays on the right, so it'd be Robertson's case. But he's played minutes on the left as well. And with Trent being that's slightly more defensively problematic. Obviously, get him away from Van Dijk as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Falk put him on the left. So he's up against Trent. But it remains to be seen. But he's just a talent that's worth looking at for the season and for the match at Anfield. But I'd say more so for the season. He's interesting to be worth following.
Just have a little look here. He represented Argentina in the Under-20s World Cup in 2015. So he's, again, you talk about smart recruitment. There's a bit of smart recruitment for you because
he was one of them where
he's obviously gone off the radar and then he's come back onto it.
Yeah, he's one of them where you pick up on really good underlying numbers and you pick up on a player who's maybe not getting the chance, and you almost take a punt on him. That's kind of the same what they did with Pukki. Pukki's career was getting on. I think Pukki's 29 now. You wouldn't really think it the way he's been getting all this hype recently in the past year. But as I said, just really good recruitment from Stuart Webber, and I like what they're doing as a club. But I'm not sure what. I mean, they've had a bit of an indifferent pre-season. 1 draw, 3 wins, 2 losses. So it's as I said already, it's a difficult one to predict how they're going to be for the season because a lot seems a bit ambiguous, but I like what they're doing. I hope they stay up, if I'm honest. But because of the transition from being a dominant team to being the inferior team most weeks, I'm not sure how they're going to find that.
Okay, so finally, you just touched upon sort of the wider issues of this season. So, and I know we don't really do predictions, but it's the start of the season. We're going to do them. Just in general, we'll rattle through a couple. So, who's going to win the title?
City.
I go for City, and I think they'll probably win it by a bigger margin than last year. Well, they can't not win it by a bigger margin, but
yeah, I feel I need to stress again. City are ridiculous. Yeah. Honestly, you have no idea how good this team are. And I think Liverpool, don't get me wrong, in a one-off fixture, Liverpool can absolutely match them. But over the course of a full season, to expect the likes of Norwich, Bournemouth, West Ham maybe, just all these teams to pick up points from them. Especially now considering they're doing set piece work, now considering they've got an heir to Fernandinho. It's almost unfair what they're doing. How many shots did he take more than their opponents? 10, is it?
So there's the margin there when you think about it.
The amount of tap-ins they get, the rotation. It's. I'm a Liverpool fan, obviously, but logic just suggests that City are just. Yeah, they're gonna win it again, surely.
That's what annoys me, by the way, as well. Is the fact that they scored from the set piece, but it was also the cutback. Yeah, they managed to somehow amalgamate the two. Even when they're doing set piece work, now they managed to score it from a cutback to Sterling. And he's unmarked 6 yards out. How would you do it?
Yeah, no, I'd like to say Liverpool, but just considering where data focused and things like that, a lot of analytics and things, you can't look beyond City.
Liverpool second.
Yeah, I think Liverpool would have to drop off a cliff to go anywhere below second, or Spurs would have to climb a Liverpool type staircase
from what they did.
Season,
relegation.
Relegation. Hang on, let me get the league up. I think
I'm going to throw Brighton in the mix. I think it might be one season too many. I think they were 19th on XG last year, and I don't see how they score goals. I'm going to throw Crystal Palace in there.
Yeah, I think I'd go Palace, Villa, and you've got a bit of a toss-up then, I think. Norwich will be down there, Newcastle will be down there.
You really back Sheffield United that much?
I just think they've got an extremely pragmatic, realistic manager. He's just very shrewd, knows how to get results. Might not be the most attractive team, but I just think they might do a bit of a Cardiff last year, whereby they're just the most realistic and best set up to getting results in a different league, whereby they're a bit inferior. Southampton will be down there, I think, but I like Arsenal a lot. Yeah, it's a tricky one, but I think Palace could be in.
I think Palace are the little bet there,
especially if they lose Zaha.
Yeah,
links with Everton there, isn't he? I'm not sure if they're legit or not. And who was the other team said? Palace and Villa. Just think there was a point during the summer where I thought, no, Villa aren't doing a Fulham. They're not doing a Fulham. But then gradually, as the weeks have gone by, they do seem to be doing it Fulham. So, it remains to be seen. It's very early days, yeah.
And very quickly, Champions League
winners.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
I can't see us.
I think we'll see how the balls come out when it comes to the knockout stages. But I think it might be Liverpool City in Istanbul.
Oh, don't say that.
I know, but that's just my feeling. And then all the fantastic memories of Istanbul may be tainted forever.
Yeah, I just think Everton Ibarra's tempo, fitness, Anfield.
Two games.
Don't
get it wrong, 2 games, yeah. Klopp's never lost a knockout game with Liverpool.
Yeah, how at home we feel in the competition. We just, that is our competition at the minute. So to knock us out of that, you've got to be a serious team.
We will, of course, when the Champions League draw happens, which is the end of this month, it's getting close. We will obviously detail
Pot
one. Maribor is still in it. Lovely place. Let's hope they get through and we get them again. Nice little 7-0. But we will be, of course, detailing all of that. So, we are back, obviously. We're back in the routine. Thank you very much. We will also be debuting a new video show. As I said last week, these are now being filmed, which, hello, you might be able to see us. But we'll also be debuting a new very, really short 10-minute, 15-minute video show called Analysing Anfield Extra Time, probably is what we're going to call it. If you want to know more details about that, follow the group on Facebook. Just type in Blood Red Podcast. There's a nice little group there. There's a lot of members there at the moment. People talking about football, people talking about podcasts in general, the Blood Red ones as well as the Analysing Anfield ones. And I'll be putting details in that, and obviously you will hopefully get a chance to participate and actually shape what we talk about. So keep an eye on that on our YouTube channel. Keep on downloading our podcasts as well, of course, if you are listening to this, and if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you give us a subscribe. I've been Kristian. Josh has been with me today as always. Thank you very much, and hopefully Liverpool start the new season with a nice, easy, comfortable Friday night victory. Take care.